Time for me to become the peanut butter Falcon. Ah! Hey, this actually feels pretty good on my skin. Could I use this as some kind of moisturizer? What is up, everybody? RandomRandomMan here, bringing you my review for the Peanut Butter Falcon. Now, the plot of this dramedy film basically follows Zach, played by Zach Gottsagen, a man with Down syndrome who runs away from his nursing home to fulfill his dream of becoming a professional wrestler. Going into this movie, I was really looking forward to it. The trailer for this film really looked endearing, and it appeared to be a modernized take on the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, as it's been touted in the marketing material and with some quotes in the trailer itself, in it feeling very Mark Twain-esque. That is what got me on board, on top of the cast. Speaking of which, starting out with the cast and their performances, we have Zach Gottsagen as Zach. Now, both the actor and character have Down syndrome, which is commented on throughout the film, but that in no way means that he is disabled. He is still able to do a lot of the same things that any regular person would be able to do, and he aspires to be a professional wrestler. This makes Zach a really identifiable character. Whether or not you have a condition of your own or whatever your own situation is, this makes him somebody who has aspirations, hopes, and dreams of his own, and it doesn't make him any less of a person with the current state that he is in. Gottsagen gives a very gutsy and plucky performance, which is bolstered by the cast around him, in particular Shia LaBeouf as Tyler. Now, he is a character who is on the run himself and eventually comes across Zach and the relationship that these two have. It's one of the most praiseworthy friendships I've seen on film in recent memory. As for LaBeouf's performance, I've always liked him as an actor, ever since the early days of Even Stevens, which, by the way, he's won an Emmy for as a kid. His career has had its ups and downs over the course of the last decade and a half or so, but I've always felt that he is a very formidable actor, and that is so the case in this movie. The same goes for Dakota Johnson as Eleanor. She is one of the employees at the nursing home that Zach was at and is trying to look for him across the rest of the film. Now, like LaBeouf, she is an actor who has garnered a bit of criticism for certain roles that she's had in the past, in particular her as Anastasia Steele in the 50 Shades trilogy. I've never seen any of those three films in that franchise, but I've got to say that here as an actor, she impresses. And the same goes for the rest of the supporting cast in the screen time that they do have, such as John Hawkes as this other fisherman who is looking for LaBeouf's Tyler, and that's why Tyler is on the run. Bruce Dern as this fellow nursing home resident of Zach's. And finally, there's Thomas Hayden Church as this wrestler named the Saltwater Redneck, who Zach looks up to and is trying to go to throughout this film. And I thought he gave an outstanding performance for the time he had. And there's also a famous wrestler in this film who I will not give away, but the name of his was escaping me as I was watching this film, and I didn't get my answer, of course, until I saw the end credits. So there's that as well. Basically, everybody here does a standout job, but a particular note has to go to Zach Gottsagen, Shia LaBeouf, and Dakota Johnson. The writing of this film, as I mentioned earlier, takes the archetype of Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and modernizes it. It also takes place in the South, like that book, specifically here around North Carolina. So there is the added aesthetic that does make it feel like something that Mark Twain would have written about many years ago, but of course in this modern day setting. This makes the story very easy to get into, as I'm sure a lot of us are already familiar with the Huck Finn story, whether or not we have read the story in its entirety. And with Zach's plight in wanting to become a professional wrestler, it actually parallels the actor in real life wanting to become an actor, except here in the movie, of course, he wants to be a professional wrestler. And it ties into this being Got Sagan's film debut, and what a film debut, as I previously mentioned. As I mentioned before too, the plot really kicks in when Zach runs into Tyler, who is on the run himself as well. And as it all permeates throughout this movie's running time, it is all executed so superbly by both Tyler Nilson and Michael Schwartz. Both of these guys wrote and directed this film. Their vision for the Twain-esque story that they have set up with the writing is pulled off so superbly with their direction and with the execution of this film's heart. It is so tender at its core. And again, this is all a credit to the friendship that Zach and Tyler have with each other, and it feeling so resonant as the movie does progress. At first, of course, it's rocky because Tyler doesn't entirely know what to do with a man who has Down syndrome, and he himself is trying to get away from some guys that he pissed off. So that is what creates for a dynamic that has something in common with both of these characters and something for us to witness and really come to care for. It makes for an adventure that is equal parts thrilling and chilling while laced with comedy in between, especially between our two leads. And the way it looks and sounds, it is something that is working with what it has budget-wise, as, like I mentioned, this movie does take place in the South, and I felt like I was with this movie setting as a whole, going around different river bends, feeling the humidity within this southern setting here, even though I was in an air-conditioned movie theater. This is a late summer release, and it really did fit the feeling and mood that I was in while watching it. Same goes with the music and amping it all up. It was done by quite a few people, but I thought it added to the atmosphere and ambiance and overall emotion that I felt between our core friendship and just the way the movie moved along, which, by the way, runs at a little over an hour and a half, 98 minutes to be precise, and I never felt this movie skip a beat or drag on for too long in any moment. This is also a credit to the editing of this film, making the pacing feel as brisk and tight as it is. There's really not much for me to complain about with this film, unless you want me to dig into nitpicky type of things, such as certain flashbacks with the character of Tyler. Now, it involves a different character played by John Bernthal, who I will not give away who he is, and I got the purpose of those scenes and what they back up with Tyler's backstory and character, but I felt like if those weren't played up as much as they were here or were taken out entirely, the same emotional connection I would have had with this film would be unchanged by the end. And there's also some sketchy ADR dubbing here and there, but I can let that slide in the back of my mind because overall, this is a film that really is as full of life and so creative as the title itself, The Peanut Butter Falcon, which is the wrestling alter ego that Zach creates for himself. And to sum it up in more simple terms too, it's a film that is soulful, subtle, and sweet when it is all said and done. It was so satisfying to see this movie come together in the way it did. It is one of the most meaningful films I have seen all year, and to come this late into the summer and it finally getting a nationwide expansion as of this weekend here in the US, this is a film that I urge anyone and everyone to go out and see right now. And I'm not just saying that because of all the buzz that this movie has had in the last couple of weeks. Even months ago, when this movie first premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival and even won the audience award there, it amped up my hype to see this film on top of the concept and cast. And after seeing it all together, I just fell in love with it. This is one of my favorite movies of the year thus far. I highly recommend it. My final verdict for The Peanut Butter Falcon is 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of the Peanut Butter Falcon. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.